people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
De la noche, Stephanie Piñeiro.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, and now it's time for another installment of what is fast becoming the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail. In my previous video, I talked about how Canelo Alvarez has every conceivable advantage over Terence Crawford, so the least he can do is win, and the least he can do is knock the little guy out, because the little guy is older, less active, has no experience at the weight. To which Victor Cortez responded, riddle me this, Canelo gets no credit and the least he can do is win by KO?
Yeah, pretty much.
Get the fuck out of here. Why is the majority of people being interviewed picking Crawford over Canelo?
Who cares who the majority of people are picking? The majority of people pick Tyson Fury to beat Usyk.
Crawford will try and box and will get favor with Turkey's judges.
Oh, you mean like Canelo Alvarez got in the first Gennady-Golovkin fight? Because we all know that wasn't really a draw. Gennady should have won.
Another guy who goes by the name of Miggy9579 said, Unk is a Canelo hater like the rest.
You hearing this guy? I'm a Canelo Alvarez hater.
It's all good. We all know he wants Crawford to win. The thing is he won't. If Canelo doesn't win in convincing fashion, the robbery is there. Sounds more like you're trying to get your narratives in order if Canelo can't finish the job. Because there's no reason that he shouldn't knock out Terence Crawford. Terence is older, smaller, he's jumping up 2 weight classes, he's got no experience at 168. This is confirmation of what I already thought, that the Canelo Alvarez fans are scared. There's something about this fight and something about this opponent that is unsettling for them, and that's why they've been complaining ever since it became a talking point.
But aren't you a Canelo Alvarez fan?
Yeah, I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan, not a Canelo Alvarez fanatic, not a stan like these guys. I don't want to have sex with him, and I don't have my nationality all tied up in this fight, national pride, like these guys. I've said it on more than one occasion ever since it became a thing. I don't care who wins. I don't care if Canelo wins, and I don't care if Crawford wins. But if it upsets you that more is expected of Canelo than is expected of Crawford, what do you expect? Canelo's been at that weight since 2020. He's bigger, he's younger, he's fought within the last 12 months. On paper, there's not much reason for Canelo to lose.
Canelo is one of the few fighters out there that is actually more experienced at a higher level than Terence Crawford.
There's not much reason for Canelo to lose. Whose quality of competition is better? You know what I'm gonna say because you'd say it yourself. Canelo Alvarez. Not only has he fought more champions overall than Terence Crawford, he's fought better ones. So on paper, the least Canelo can do is win. The least he should do is knock him out. And as much as you guys have been tearing Terence Crawford down, the least Canelo can do is win. The least he should do is knock him out. But you don't like the sound of that because for whatever reason, you don't want Canelo Alvarez to be held to any kind of standard while proclaiming that he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that to Terence Crawford.
The other guy's complaining that enough people aren't picking Canelo to win. All the people he sees are picking Crawford.
So fucking what? Are you worried? I had a Fury versus Usyk. Most people were picking Tyson Fury to win, not Usyk. I went with Usyk and Usyk won. Both times, but that's not the point. What do you care what other people are saying?
Who they're picking to win the fight? Are you worried?
It sounds like it, because you're the one cooking up narratives about Turkey and his judges, and Terence is gonna try to box.
So you're saying you don't think Canelo can knock him out?
I mean, that's what you're telling me. That's what you're saying. That Terence is gonna try to box, and he's got the judges in the pocket, so they're gonna score the fight for Terence. That's basically what you're telling me. What you're telling me is you're scared Canelo's gonna lose, which is what I've been saying. the reason that so many Canelo Alvarez fans have been complaining about this fight, where they didn't complain about Jaime Munguia, and they didn't even complain about Edgar Berlanga.
That's the kind of guys you want to see him fight, right? Guys that nobody thinks can win, because nobody thought Jaime was going to win, and nobody thought Edgar was going to win. But because some people think Terrence might win, that bothers you.
Nobody thought John Ryder was going to win, like nobody thought William Skull was going to win. But because some people out there, they think Terrence has got a shot, that bothers you. And because somebody says that Canelo can't get the same credit as Terrence Crawford for this fight, that bothers you. But Terrence is the one moving up.
What do you expect?
Acknowledging Canelo Alvarez's stature in the sport as the face of boxing is also acknowledging that he can make any fight he wants. And he made this fight because he wasn't going to fight David Benavidez. He doesn't want to give him the time of day. And he wasn't going to fight Dimitri Bivol again. So who do you expect him to fight? More guys like Edgar Berlanga?
Nobody I know wants to see more of that shit. Do you?
It sounds like it, because you got all these problems and all of these hang-ups with the Terrence Crawford fight, but I'm left wondering, if he wasn't fighting Terrence Crawford, who was he gonna fight? There's not that many people left out there. In the last couple of fights, even the William Skull fight to crown him a two-time undisputed champion, most of them, they felt like layups.
So that you broads can start complaining as soon as he fights someone who is at least perceived as being more serious. Well, when you're the face of boxing, that's the kind of stuff you gotta do. And I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan.
And I'm also a fan of Terrence Crawford. That's why I don't care who wins. I don't have my identity and my nationality all wrapped up in what two multi-million-dollar boxers are doing. It doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you.
I don't care who wins. You do.
It's not that I'm not being objective or I'm not calling it down the middle. It's that you don't want me to. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, a story that broke late yesterday via veteran boxing scribe Julian Julianus, Keith Thurman versus Virgil Ortiz and Frank Martin versus Arnold Barboza are in the works for a date in October. It will be a PBC versus Golden Boy Promotions event if all is finalized. Distribution of the event almost immediately comes to mind. Where are we supposed to see this, if we do see it? Is it going to be on PBC on Amazon, or is it going to be on DAZN?
Who's going to be at the helm of the promotion?
Because the last time we saw Keith Thurman, it wasn't even on a PBC show per se. It was on a No Limit show, broadcasted in America on Amazon. But at the helm of that promotion, the Brock Jarvis fight wasn't a PBC. And when's the last time anybody saw Frank Martin?
I think it's been over a year since that guy fought. The last time we saw him, he got stopped by Gervonta Davis. And a lot has happened since then.
Frank Martin, who was said to have been promoted by Errol Spence Jr. via his Man Down Promotions and trained by Derek James. We all know what happened between Errol and Derek. They're on the outs over money, and I don't get the sense that Derek will be in Frank's corner if we do see him in the fall.
If we do see him against Arnold Barboza, who recently stated he's moving up to welter. So on that predication, should we interpret Barboza versus Martin as a welterweight fight? Or is it going to be at some kind of a catch weight?
They're both coming off of losses. Arnold Barboza off a decision loss to Teofimo Lopez. Frank off a knockout loss to Gervonta Davis. Frank has been out a while. Arnold Barboza is not exactly a layup fight, a gimme fight. I mean, I know he doesn't have the most exciting style to watch, but to come back against a guy like this, I just don't know. And I don't even know if this whole thing is going to happen, if it will be more than just a rumor, because the idea that Keith Thurman is going to go from fighting Brock Jarvis, a domestic-level Aussie, to somebody like Virgil.
I got serious reservations about that.
The situation would have grown gravely desperate for Keith Thurman if he is choosing to cash out against somebody like Virgil, because that's what I think that fight would be if he actually goes through with it. He's cashing out.
He doesn't win that fight. Being honest with you, I'm not sure that Keith Thurman would have won this fight in his prime.
No, sir, Keith Thurman's prime is often exaggerated by many a sentimental PBC fan that reads far too much into his victories over Danny Garcia and Sean Porter.
Give me a break.
The size and strength and youth of Virgil Ortiz, his propensity to throw punches in bunches, his persistence, and that youth is on his side, where Keith Thurman, who even in his prime was hurt by the likes of a Louis Collazo, and some years ago he was hurt again by Riverside Rocky. This is the guy that's gonna fight Virgil. I gotta see it to believe it. Virgil Ortiz can give Keith Thurman all the same issues that Sean Porter gave him back in 2016 and more, because Virgil's actually bigger and fresher.
At his very best, Keith is a bit of an unorthodox fighter, a mover that likes to walk his opponent in traps and punches. Now at welterweight, he had a halfway decent punch, but at junior middle...
He hasn't fought any junior middles. The Brock Jarvis fight was at junior middleweight, but Brock Jarvis was not a junior middle. That guy fought as low as 135 pounds.
Brock Jarvis had about as much experience at 154 as Keith Thurman.
I saw a recent Keith Thurman interview where he said that there was nothing, at least nothing at that time, coming down the pipeline. So taking a Virgil Ortiz fight all of a sudden would have to be an act of desperation. How much money would Oscar have to offer Keith Thurman to take on this fight? That leads me to believe that maybe they're going to try to bill this as a pay-per-view. It doesn't sound like there's any involvement from Turkey El Sheikh.
No big Saudi bag.
It sounds a lot like they're trying to do this amongst themselves on their own, which in all likelihood would mean this would be a pay-per-view. Do you think this is pay-per-view worthy?
Ortiz versus Thurman?
It's a complete blackout throughout the month of August for the PPC. They're not doing any shows this month, and I have it on good authority that they were going to do a show next month on the 20th, but now that's been scrapped.
So if you're a fighter that normally boxes on PBC shows, the situation would have grown desperate. There are not that many opportunities to make money on your side of the street. You have to branch out now.
If you're not going to retire, if you're going to keep boxing, all the money's elsewhere.
So there is that to consider. But I don't know how much I can believe this rumor. I don't know that I'm ready to believe that Keith is going to throw caution to the wind where he has no history of doing that.
That's not his MO, and that's never been how he moved. There's a reason that as soon as Danny Garcia moved up to welter, he targeted him for a unification match where Kell Brook was there the whole time with the IBF title.
He never had the energy for Kell that he had for Danny.
It's never been Keith Thurman's MO to take on all comers and throw caution to the wind. That's not how he moves, but that's how he would be moving if he decided to go from Brock Jarvis to Virgil Ortiz. If they make it, I think Virgil stops him.
He steamrolls Keith Thurman.
In men's light heavyweight news, a story that caught traction late yesterday alongside this one, Artur Beterbiev may take a keep busy fight before the Bivol trilogy. Whilst fans continue to wait on a trilogy showdown between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, speculation suggests that the latter could be poised for an outing during the interim. After two grueling battles between Bivol and Beterbiev within 4 months of one another, a delay to a third and final fight between the light heavyweight rivals was always expected. However, it instead seems that it is Bivol who is prolonging the wait for a third encounter, whilst Beterbiev, 40, is raring to go, keen to avenge his lone career loss and reclaim the light heavyweight throne. In addition, the IBF have also ordered Bivol to take on mandatory challenger Michael Eifert, and Bivol's manager Vadim Kornilov reliably informed Boxing News that they plan to follow their obligations but wish to commit to that contest after the Beterbiev trilogy. Now rumors that Beterbiev will take on an American contender, Najee Lopez, 14-0, with 11 KOs, have emerged, and WBO welterweight champion Brian Norman Jr. has added to that speculation. After attending a charity event with Lopez on Saturday, Norman took to social media to warn fans not to overlook his countrymen. In a fight with Artur Beterbiev, it is suggested that Beterbiev versus Lopez could be added to the Mammoth Benavidez versus Yard bill in Riyadh on Saturday, November 22nd, which already features 4 world title contests, and a 5th may still be added yet. Should Beterbiev agree to this, Bivol may decide to fulfill his IBF mandatory and face Eifert next, before continuing with a trilogy fight in 2026, provided both he and Artur come through those fights unscathed. But that would be very bad optics for Dmitry Bivol, because even though Michael Eifert is his mandatory, You know who else was as mandatory? David Benavidez. And the story behind him not fighting David Benavidez was that he was going to fight Artur next.
Except now we're hearing that he's not going to fight Artur next. This story has been up and down for weeks, for months. Not that long ago, Umar Kremlev of the IBA posted a video where he had a video chat with Artur Beterbiev about the trilogy. That the reason Turkey was no longer the financier is because the IBA picked it up, and they wanted to do it in Russia. And that's where it left off up until this news.
Now it's that Artur is going to fight Najee Lopez, so Dmitry Bivol may fight Michael Eifert. The source...
That's where they lose me. Where this rumor is coming from. It's coming from Tay Jones.
You may be familiar with that name. That's the same Tay Jones that was part of Deontay Wilder's entourage in Deontay Wilder's heyday. That's the same Tay Jones that said Wilder would release medical documentation that proved he was drugged in the Tyson Fury fight, except that never happened.
That was an empty promise.
So that when that same Tay Jones says that Artur Beterbiev is about to fight Najee Lopez, I don't know that I can believe it. I don't know that I can take it from him, and he seems to be the only source for this story. I don't see any accredited journalists, any tried and true pundits reporting this. The source for the whole thing seems to be Tay Jones, a gatekeeper-level boxer that graduated to being Deontay Wilder's roadie, back when Deontay Wilder's name meant something.
Doesn't mean much now, and neither does the word of Tay Jones, not to me. The bottom line is, those eggs need more bacon, and I need to see it to believe it. Now, I don't mind the idea of Artur Beterbiev squeezing in a keep busy fight in the interim. I relish every opportunity to watch Artur beat people up.
But if he does end up having to do that, it's not good optics for Dmitry Bivol, because like I said, the whole reason you didn't fight David was because you were supposed to fight Artur again, except you're not fighting Artur now. If the cookie crumbles that way, not only does it look like you're ducking the Artur Beterbiev rematch, but it also looks like you ducked David Benavidez.
So does this now change your mind about how that fight would go if they fought? Do you now think that David beats him?
Not really, no. David is too simple a fighter and too basic for me to let rumors influence my opinion on that fight. It's noticeable that he hasn't knocked anybody out since moving up to light heavyweight. I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know how he's gonna look with Anthony Yarde in the fall. So this, by itself, is not enough to convince me that he would beat Dmitry. He's never beat anybody elite, anybody good.
I will admit that the optics are very bad for Dmitry Bivol. It looks bad, but how it looks is not enough to convince me that David would win that fight.
So Dmitry will fast become subject to a lot of criticism if that's how it happens. If Artur fights Najee Lopez, and if Dmitry ends up fighting Michael instead of David.
I don't know how this is going to play out. We'll see what happens.